another important point, and like I said, you've all kind of heard our stories and how we got here or how we took a detour or how we decided that we wanted to come to grad school or be public servants. But I think one thing that would be good to discuss is just talking about how our path may have changed or developed once we started grad school and started to, take the classes, be exposed to our peers, kind of learn more about what public service and maybe international affairs was about, how our paths kind of changed. So if you could share a little bit about how your career exploration or what you thought you'd be doing or what you ended up doing changed as you begin to develop in grad school, maybe the classes you took, the internship opportunities that you had, just your exposure to other classmates, professors, kind of how that developed as you went through the grad school process.
Well, I can start mainly because mine was a little too on the nose of an experience where I came in and pretty quickly knew that what I thought I wanted to do probably wasn't the right track for me. Um, that has a lot to do with just knowing yourself and knowing your proclivities and what you like and don't like. But then after that, it was really, well, what am I most interested in? And so at the time, and I don't know what the focuses are right now, but one of the focuses was China studies, and then another focus was intelligence. And so I married those two, and I did intelligence with a focus in China studies. And I found that when it still offered that that desire, it satisfied that desire and wanting to be a part of sort of that international spectrum and globe. That was still very much a core part of what I wanted to do. And then it turns out I really did enjoy that. I ended up learning Chinese while I was there. It was, it was the right path for me. You just have to, if you get there and you're like, this isn't really what I want, talk with other students, talk with other alumni, talk with some of the professors. That was another key point for me, getting to took several classes from Professor Olson, who is now retired. But if there is somebody like that who you're like, I would really love to learn from them. I know what they've done in their past. I know what their professional history is, and that is incredibly intriguing to me. So that was definitely a part of it for me as well, moving into a space where I knew I would be taking a lot of classes from him. I will also say, I just put a little plug with, I went in pretty myopic and what I thought I wanted to do at first. So it felt a little devastating when I realized that probably wasn't it for me. I have since told a number of students, don't say no to an opportunity just because you don't think it's what you want at that time. And I think there are several people around this board who would probably say the same thing. You never know. If an opportunity presents itself, don't automatically slate it if it's not in this imagined path that you have for yourself. Explore it, ask questions. It may just be that it's something that you really are good at and would enjoy, depending on what your skill sets are. So I think, that's kind of the path that my career took afterwards. It's feels a little bit opportunistic, but as opportunities have come along, I've evaluated them. I have asked questions. I have done those things, and I haven't automatically dismissed them, even if it wasn't what I thought I wanted to be doing. That being said, keep pursuing what you want, what you think you want. You don't know. That might be exactly where you will land. Just don't be closed off to other opportunities as they come along too.
Okay, I have to share this story only because this comes up every year, and it's an interesting story. But so I graduated from the University of New Orleans in 2005 in May, and my very first day of graduate school at the Bush School was the day I had just moved from New Orleans, and the very first day of graduate school was the day that Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. So I'm sitting in my first day of graduate school with all of my peers, and we're looking at this TV, and it's like a policy case study, like unfolding in front of you. And I knew at that moment, I always knew I wanted to be a public servant, but I knew at that moment that I wanted to do grad school, get whatever knowledge I could, and I wanted to come back to Louisiana because I wanted to be able to help rebuild our state. And so that's kind of how my path got created once I got to graduate school. And so one thing I can say about choosing a graduate school that's a good fit for you and making sure that you're in a great place. I can say that the Bush School ended up being that place for me. But I was able to take that desire of what I wanted to do, and I had a great set of professors who were able to help me craft my graduate school experience into the best way that would help me meet that need. So, being able to figure out what classes I needed to take. So, yeah, you're interested in disaster recovery, but you have to know how the dollars work. You have to know how to measure the effectiveness of programs to determine if they're working. And so, my whole kind of journey through graduate school kind of work with that. So my internship ended up being with the governor's office in Louisiana, the Louisiana Recovery Authority, which was created to do disaster recovery authority in the wake of Katrina. So I got to do my cool internship with them. Well, I had a great capstone experience where I had a professor reach out to the state of Louisiana, and we ended up doing our capstone for the Congressional Research Service on the federal effectiveness of disaster recovery programs post Katrina. So I was able to tap into that capstone. I was able to use the information I got from the internship that the Bush School required, able to do all that. We were able to help solve a problem for the Congressional Research Service and for the state. And when I left the Bush School, I was offered a job at the Louisiana Recovery Authority, working for the governor, doing the exact work that I A, wanted to do, but B, had been able to prepare myself to do at the Bush School. So I think that's something important to think about as your needs, like Llewellyn said, as your interests evolve, making sure that you're using that experience to kind of tailor your graduate school experience to what you need. And I can only speak to my experience at the Bush School, but I was able to do that. And it's been able to serve me well, even 17 years after graduating and leaving that position and going on to other positions. I've been able to use that state and local government experience. So I can definitely say my path kind of evolved, but it developed as I went through graduate school.